Welcome to Chicago, Illinois. If you're talking about architecture, sooner or later you're going to have to talk about Chicago. In 1830, Chicago was founded with a population of 200 people. It was in a good location, but it grew at such a great rate. It was the fastest growing city on earth. They put up homes and buildings so quickly that they didn't pay too much attention to rules or fire code or good building practices. So I suppose it was only a matter of time that it would all fall apart. In 1871, they had the Great Chicago Fire, which wiped out so much of the city. Once the fire was out, they bulldozed all the wreckage out north into the lake, and they called architects from all over the world to come to Chicago to rebuild the city. That's why you have some of the most amazing buildings here. You've been looking at Chicago from views from the John Hancock Tower, which is on the north end of the city. There's the Sears Tower, now known Willis Tower. Here's a view from the ground. It was built in 1973, and at the time it was the tallest building in the world, and it held this title for 25 years. The total height of the building is 1,729 feet. You can see different elevations of the building. What they did is there's 9 separate tubes bundled together to give the building its strength. This is 311 South Wacker. It's a 65-story skyscraper with retail and as well commercial use. It's reinforced concrete. It's known for its beautiful lobby and as well as the crown at the top of the building. Nearby is also 235 Van Buren, a 46-floor residential condo. In the back on this side, we see all the balconies, but in the other side, facing the business district, the condo is more a commercial look, so it blends more in with the commercial buildings in that area. The planning department in Chicago is very interested in the aesthetic look of the buildings. Chicago has such a rich architectural history. They want to take care of it, and they want only the best people for their city. So these views now are from inside the Willis Tower, which is, and we're looking north. There's the Chicago River, UBS building, the Ogilvy Transportation Center, the rail there. There's the Chicago Sun-Times building. And over there is the John Hancock building that we were in earlier. And this is the Chase Tower. Okay, we're moving downtown. This is Michigan Avenue. This is Millennium Park. They have these fountains with videos of local residents' faces on them. And sometimes you'll see even a water stream come right out of the mouth of the tower. So it's a bit fun for the kids. Also, they have this reflective beam where people come and take pictures. It's interesting to see the distortion that the light makes against the mirrored surface. And they also have a concert pavilion in the back here. Some of the most famous Chicago buildings are around here too. They have One Prudential Plaza, and this is the Smurfit Stone building. This is the Heritage, a high-end residential retail building. The white building is the Michigan Boulevard building, the Montgomery Ward building, Willoughby Tower. Oh, and there's more down here too. So here's a brief interlude. We'll look at the bean, the mirrored bean. Mirrored bean, okay. I think you can see me there, very small, but oh well. Now back to the building. These 3 buildings are the Gage Group building. The one on the far right, number 18, it's known as the Gage building. There's the Boulevard, Wahlberg Hall, Lakeview building, the People's Gas building, and there's way more historic buildings down here. Now we're going to move a bit north to the lake. The buildings are a bit more modern here. And there's a marina. On Michigan Lake we have the Chicago Yacht Club, which focuses on racing. This is actually the Columbia Yacht Club, which is more dedicated to cruising, enjoying the lake, the view, as well as dining and parties. Here, young sailors are learning their water skills. Okay, so let's travel up the Chicago River now and let's look at those buildings. Straight ahead of you is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. It's got retail, hotel, and condominium space. It's 1,389 feet tall, 96 stories. You can see like the Sears Tower, or sorry, the Willis Tower. Different parts of the building are at different heights. This is done to make continuity with the buildings and with the surrounding area. This is Lake Point Tower. It's the only building east of Lakeshore Drive. Because of zoning or whatever, it's going to be the only building ever there. It's a residential tower, 645 feet tall, and the rounded edges are the architect's solution to the harsh winds coming off Lake Michigan. The first building on the left is called the Chandler. It's a 36-story high residential condo built June 2008 it opened. Immediately to the right is the Regatta. It's another residential condominium. It's 44 stories tall. Opened in 2006. If you're interested, a one-bedroom start at $265,000. A two-bedroom starts at $619,000. And a three-bedroom starts at $2.1 million. That's US dollars. If you're looking to rent, a one-bedroom starts $1,800. Two-bedroom $3,000, and a three-bedroom is $7,000 and up. Obviously, those are the starting prices. So just in behind, we have a group of residential rentals. The first one is the Shoreham Luxury Apartments, and right next door is called the Tides. They're both built by the same developer, and you can tell the appearance is very similar. They're built by Magellan Development Group, who own a number of rental buildings in Chicago. The next building coming up is called Coast. It's a residential building. They have luxury one-bedroom, two-bedroom, and three-bedroom units. There's commercial retail space on the ground floor, and it was just built this year in 2013 by the same developer as the previous two buildings. So they call this whole neighborhood the New East Side, where all these new buildings are going. It's really got a lot of things going for it. It's easy to walk anywhere. It's a beautiful area, and the business district is pretty close. The next building is the Swiss Hotel. It's a triangular shaped all glass building built by the Chicago architect Harry Weiss. He was famous for introducing triangular shapes into his architecture, so this is not surprising if you know his work. On the 42nd floor there's a fitness center and pool, which gives you amazing views of the surrounding area. This is 333 North Michigan. It's an Art Deco skyscraper. The way the road shifts a little bit as it hits the river, you can see this building all the way down Michigan Avenue. It was built in 1928. It's 396 feet tall and 34 stories. The London Guarantee Building, built in 1923, at the end of the period when Beaux Arts style architecture was prominent in the United States. This kind of style employed low-key lines embellished and decorated by sculptures. Mather Tower, built in 1928. It's 521 feet, 41 stories. It's famous for the octagonal tower section you see on the top. It's considered to be neo-Gothic architecture, which takes its inspiration from the Gothic churches of Europe. These three buildings have a steel skeleton with their facade connected. This one is terracotta, but the other two were limestone. This is the Jewelers Building. It's 522 feet with 40 stories, built in 1927. It's neoclassic architecture taking inspiration from ancient Greece and Rome. One East Wacker, built in 1962, it's a 41-story commercial building with over 500,000 square feet of office space. Marina City, built in 1964, it's a mixed-use commercial and residential complex of 2 towers, 587 feet tall, and 65 stories. Built in 1983 is an office building, 489 feet tall, 36 stories, and it has over 864,000 square feet of office space. This is the Randolph Walker Building, built in 1970. It's 393 feet with 30 stories. It's also an office building. This is a good example of what's happening in Chicago as well as other cities around the world. This is Randolph Place condos. Originally built in 1922 as a warehouse and offices, it was retrofitted for condo residences in 1999. It has 18 stories, 340 units. This condo is Riverbend, has an exercise room, party room, boat slips for direct access into the river, and amazing views of the Chicago River. Fulton House was built in 1898 as a warehouse. Later was converted into a cold storage warehouse in 1908. This building is a warehouse from the 1920s, also converted into lofts in 1995. Has 132 units, and some of the building amenities include an exercise room and a rooftop patio. Here's two more condos. The one on the left is called Kingsbury on the Park, built in 2003. It's 25 stories and 130 units. And the one on the right is Admiral's Point, set on a 2-acre park. It was built in 2002 and has 171 units. This is One River Place, built in 1920s as part of Montgomery Ward's warehouse. It's 9 stories, 241 units, and each of the units have 12 to 15 foot ceilings inside. Has an exercise room and 2 rooftop gardens. Built in 1872 as a 1.25 million square foot warehouse for Montgomery Ward's mail order business, this building is known as one of the best examples of the Chicago school style of industrial building. It still serves today as a commercial building. So the mail order business started when the founder was working as a salesman. He realized that people in rural areas wanted the same choice of merchandise available in large cities, but the only way they could get them was through general stores whose service was really bad and prices were higher. What he decided was to make a mail order service, sending out catalogs, and people could order what they want and it would be shipped from this warehouse here in Chicago. For 25 years they grew larger and larger until Sears appeared as their competitor, and they battled it out with each other for the catalog business. But it wasn't until after World War II that it became apparent that Sears would beat them all in sales, as Montgomery Ward struggled to understand the post-war economy, the growth of the suburbs, as well as shopping malls. The rest of the story of Montgomery Ward's is one of decline, to where they keep losing market share. Eventually, with the likes of Kmart and Walmart, even further, by 2000, the business was folded. Built in 1890, this is a 6-floor commercial building with 11,000 square feet of retail, banking, and dining establishments. Because of the river, Chicago has a lot of bridges. These drawbridges split in the middle, raise up, so that a boat traveling along the river can go through easily. Certain days boats have the right of way, and on other days cars have the right of way. This building was built in 1956. It's 6 stories of commercial space with 227,000 square feet. It currently is the headquarters for a real estate investment trust that focuses on high quality shopping malls. This video was shot from a boat tour. Chicago has a lot of architecture tours. You can take a boat tour, bus tour, train tour, Segway tour, bicycle tour, and even walking tour. And there's so much information they give on these tours, it's hard to absorb it all. So I'd recommend researching buildings before you leave. That way you can have a better understanding of the information they're telling you. Built in 1929, the Civic Opera Building is the second largest opera house in North America. Has 3,563 seats with an Art Deco interior. Has a separate office tower with 915,000 square feet of office space. I could go on for hours listing all these Chicago properties, so I think I'm just going to stop. We've gone so far and we haven't even scratched the surface. Chicago's blessed with a variety of styles and techniques. They're pioneers in a lot of architectural technology. They'd like to try different things. It's here that for the first time, steel was used as a structural material. This allowed for the creation of skyscrapers, and the world's first skyscraper was built here in Chicago. So in the old days, they used to build buildings with bricks, right? Bricks and cement, and the weight of the building would be transferred through the bricks down into the ground. But now that you were using steel, the steel skeleton of the building transferred the weight into the ground, and you could hang whatever you wanted on the steel. So that meant with less bricks, you didn't need the bricks, you could have bigger windows as well as higher buildings. So we saw those other buildings earlier where it was steel skeleton with terracotta or steel and limestone. Nowadays it's more steel with glass, right? And with the super tall buildings like Willis Tower, they created the tube frame construction. So it's a bundle of tubes wrapped together to give strength. And that was all invented here in Chicago. Now, when I was here, there was a lot of talk of the Chicago School of Architecture. But honestly, I couldn't figure that part out. So if anybody can tell me what it is, please let me know. All I can figure, whenever I see a building in Chicago that looks strong, I mean with great horizontal line, it seems to be that's the Chicago style. So they've identified their own style of building, their own style of industrial building, and their own style of window even. And as for skyscraper, their idea of skyscraper, it seems to me they try to imitate a classical column. You know how the bottom has the pedestal, then you have the pillar, and at the top you have decoration. I think that's one of the first lessons you get in architecture is those Roman and Greek pillars. And so the Chicago style skyscraper seems to mimic the rules of those pillars. Hopefully I'm right. I think I'm right. We're looking at the University Club of Chicago. Built in 1909, it's 12 stories and was the city's first Gothic skyscraper. So Chicago is a city of little neighborhoods. Investing in one side of the street rather than the other can cost you money. Some examples of neighborhoods are Wicker Park, Logan Square, Ukrainian Village, Noble Square, Hendersonville, and Chinatown. Everyone in Chicago was really pleasant with me. If you had a question, they went out of their way to answer whatever questions you had. The women were friendly, outgoing. Chicago is one of those cities of the world that is built on a river, just like London, England, Ottawa, San Antonio, Texas, and some others that I can't think of right now, but there's lots of them. So when you have a natural feature like that, it tends to increase the value of the real estate near those features. So for Chicago, you have all along the waterfront, you have Navy Pier, the beach area, and then you also have the land that runs alongside the river, also very valuable. This is North Michigan Avenue. There's a lot of high-end retail here, like Armani, Burberry, Victoria's Secret, that kind of thing. There's some nice hotels here too, like the Ritz Hotel is here. They call this area the Magnificent Mile. It's the city's largest shopping district. It reaches from the Chicago River all the way north to Oak Street. It has some of the city's landmarks like the Wrigley Building and the Chicago Water Tower. It's fun to walk around. On the right is the John Hancock Building. Okay, we're going along Lakeshore Drive now, just across from the beach. These are all high-end condos. They will all have excellent view of the beach here. All these were built between 1912 and 1929. The last being the Drake Tower. They say you can tell the attitude of the city as these buildings were going up because the first one on the corner was so bright and joyful, while at the end the Drake Tower is so square, being the influence of Prohibition at the time. And this is the Drake Hotel, built in 1920. It was popular for the very rich of the city during the boom of the 1920s. And even after the crash, local celebrities could still be seen here. This view is from the beach looking towards the Drake and those residences. You can see it's a very attractive, vibrant area. People come to exercise, play frisbee, walk the dog, bicycle, and even sunbathe. Chicago is a city rich with heritage, history, and amazing architecture. But at the same time, it's a modern city with a bright future and good growth potential. If you visit Chicago, for sure, if you are like me, you will fall in love with its people, its attitude, culture, and may even want to play a part in its future. Perhaps you'll be one of those who invests and buys a residence here. Whatever the future holds for you and for Chicago, it's certain Chicago will always be one of the great cities of the entire world.